Cool. It says we're live. Let me check the profile page to make sure our beautiful faces are showing up. And there we are.
Cool.
Cool. Welcome, everybody, to this Client Spotlight series. I'm here with an amazing person who is a client of mine and has really achieved monumental results from the way he thinks to shifting emotions and really creating excellent results in his business and in his life. And so he's here today to share those with you. And so, I'll let you introduce yourself. You can share your name, what you do, and then where people can find you. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. Um, my name is Cyril. I'm originally from France and live in Canada. And what I do is I help companies or entrepreneurs to get their product ready for a market or their market. So it's a marketing work where we work on the product design and then trying to find out what's the value of it and trying to make and to find out what's the right customer for them. So I do that in various industries, but for the past 10 years, I've been evolving in the tech industry. So I was mainly focused on startup, and the tools I use are actually, I've made some adjustments to make them powerful for um, not only tech companies, because that's something I wanted to open my clients.
Mhm.
So it's now available and it's proved to work for any kind of business.
Yeah, amazing. And so, that's really powerful, right? To have someone like you to be on their side to help them look at the product that they're coming out with, look at the market, what is the value to place on it, and really come to it from a logical way that makes sense. Because I think when people are just kind of coming up with numbers, it can create a lot of doubt. So I think having someone like you on their team and on their side to really help them make sense of it so they can actually feel confident, really good about it, and everything aligns, I think is amazing. Where can, if someone's interested in doing work with you or checking out what you do, what's the best way for them to find you?
Oh, the best way for now is through Facebook. And I'm working on my website, and as soon as my website will be ready, it will be on my bio on Facebook as well. But yeah, Facebook now.
Cool, perfect. So I'll make sure I link your Facebook,
Mhm.
and we'll dive in. And for anyone that's watching, let us know that you're watching live, or let us know if you're watching the replay. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll take a look through those. So let's just start out with, to paint a picture. You're doing this work, you're helping people with this. What was the challenge that you were experiencing either in your life or your business before we started that work together?
The main issue was the transition. I've started 2 years ago now, 2 years and a half, just before COVID actually, and I wanted to switch from being an employee to being an entrepreneur or a consultant.
Mhm.
And COVID happens, and many things, many cards have been like shuffled, and I was it was not so easy to find my way around all that noise. And I knew I was able to perform at some key stages of company's development, but the alignment to what kind of client I want to address, what is the value I want to offer, and who is the client I want to work with were the three key elements where I was like navigating without any compass or being very uh, depending on the waves, and that wasn't, I wasn't feeling like grounded in my practice. And that was the main challenge. And first year of working was so just before we I engaged with you. I had some insights that it was the right way. But so I wanted to. My goal was to perform better on that direction, and that's what we created together.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, what you experience, I think, is a pretty common thing, right? Because a lot of times people see they have this talent and the skill, and they really developed these, and so they may be an employee wanting to create their own thing, or they were recently an employee and they're trying to create their own thing, and it's kind of funny what oftentimes what we're helping others with is sometimes the area that we're trying to grow, and so it makes sense, right? There's like a knowing that the skills in that direction is there, but when you're doing it on your own, or you're trying to pave your path, having a second person there to really reflect that back is huge. And so trying to find your way, what is the value that you want to place on it? How do you even present it? When you're helping someone else, it's easy to see it, but when you're in it, it's really helpful to have that. I'm curious, what would you say the biggest fear you've had to overcome to say yes to you and for us to work together?
I just wanted to, yeah, to
Okay, a few more
look
to add.
back, just to have a comment on what you said, because it's quite the irony. Absolutely, just to serving clients about what you do, but needed someone actually to make that reflection and make that work going on. And uh, yeah, that's 100% true, and that's the huge benefit of working with you. Um, about the fear is. I think the main fear was the fear of not going through
Mhm.
and staying stuck in a, in a bad area, in a bad mood, in a bad situation. So actually, it was just or I turned that fear upside down to really like feel what's real. And because yeah, the first year previously, our meeting together was confirming the way, but it wasn't like the execution wasn't right at all, or wasn't
Mhm.
sustainable. And so the fear of pursuing was not so huge. And then actually I just felt that maybe my fear is just the fear of success, and
Mhm.
so let's turn that upside down and engage someone to dissolve those shadows areas and work through it, and then transform it, and yeah, alchemize that in a constructive way.
Yeah. And so it sounds like in order to say yes, the fear was that you were going to stay where you were at, or that it wasn't going to change, and you became aware that that was running in the background, and so really deciding that you wanted to change that is really what helped you say yes. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and I'm curious, what specific result or improvement would you say you've experienced from our coaching? We can start with tangible, and then we can move into intangible, wherever you'd like to start.
Uh-huh. Yeah, on the tangible side, that's what you shared for our conversation today, mostly about money, because it's tangible and measurable. um, and it was important to have that right price for
Mhm.
me. And for example, for the like 7 8 month 10 month maybe we work together now. um I mean, the prices has been almost double in some kind of
Mhm.
areas. So that was a huge step ahead for me, and I needed that. And on the intangible side, it was related to that, because it's the value you bring to the market. And I had a feeling of not bringing that much value, but actually it was just a mental thing. And I knew I was again like performing well on this area, and just breaking those uh, beliefs was the most beneficial um, intangible result I had, and that makes that makes the mind able to still continue thinking about growing without having those fear or parasites coming in. And that was the big breakthrough. And of course that means the all the emotions around the belief, and that was huge as well for me. Other thing is yeah, I would say very basic steps that you've focused on, like having real conversation with people to engage. I mean, it's pretty basic, but sometimes somehow I just lost that basic, and I was facing myself not being able to, not to inflate myself or to undervalue. And finding that right spot was just a question of practicing. So the thing was to effectively take action on that, and that was good. That was a good step for me, and a good result.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just to reflect back and for anyone listening, um, for you, as you're making that transition and we started to work together, um, there's this element, right, of belief work. One is looking at the beliefs, and then it's also the amount that's being charged. So a lot of that has been doubled and it continues to increase. And to give people an idea of some of those numbers, in case they didn't see the posts or wherever they see this video, maybe there isn't a post tied to it. But for you, there's deals that you've created and agreements that you've created that have been for whether it's 9K or 4.5K a month or 24K. And so I think for a lot of people, those are important things to be aware of, is the value that we feel like we're providing, and not only that we're providing, but that the other person feels they're receiving that. And so part of that work that we did that you just spoke about was looking at those beliefs. What's happening in between, because we can know what to do, but then there's actually doing what we know. And you're a brilliant and intelligent person, which I think, for anyone listening here, they probably are too, since they're looking at those things. And so it's been really helping you tap into that genius that you have. And I love what you said about, the basic steps of the conversations, because I know it sounds simple, or people might say, oh, I'm in a conversation in Messenger. But I think until they really get it, they're probably stuck in a bit of a social media game, or they have all these things going. And part of the work that we did was really supporting you in how to have a true and like a real conversation and connection with those people. And how do you even facilitate that? How do you even connect? And so you've become one of the masters at this, that it's something where we'll have a session and you're like, oh, I got this many conversations this week or this coming week. And so, just to reflect that back to you, I think you've been amazing, and you continue to grow in that, and receive that prosperity in your life for all the actions that you're taking.
Yeah,
And that belief work is what helps you take those actions.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And in parallel of all that, there is also the fact to choose who you want to work with and who I wanted to work with, because I remember as well a big challenge back in June. Yeah, I had only one client, and there were a lot of troubles in terms of
Mhm.
the mission was spreading way beyond the contract. There is no like, it was difficult to see any response in terms of leadership. The leadership I was bringing didn't had any answer or appropriate answer, and I was just on my own, and there were like this fear or doubt about closing that client, and because there has been a lot of warning already. So I'm someone who is by nature kind of kind, or I like to facilitate the things. I've got empathy, so I use it, and but sometimes it makes people to want to use it, and that's the thing I learned again with you as well, is that's my tool to use, that's not a tool they have to use. And I had to say no to that client, and the mission was kind of over. I mean, we covered the original goals, and I had to say no, I'm stopping with you, and I had absolutely no backup for the
Mhm.
next month or weeks or days. And that's when the conversations and the basics came in like more deeply or in a more common way. And it brought me like two amazing clients where the issues I were experiencing and I was tolerating for more than 6 months, like in just one shot, the bill was honored at the right time, so I was
Mhm.
paid at the right time. There was no issues around doing that or being spread over a huge amount of tasks. So yeah, it was a good reminder as well to stay focused also to the kind of client I want, and how simple actually is to just to make what we enjoy, and meeting people who are starving for that or
Yeah,
thriving.
yeah, that's amazing. And, I think that's courageous action, right? Because um, sometimes we can value the money, but the client that we're working with or whoever it may be, we may feel like we're kind of tolerating things that we don't want to tolerate. And I remember those conversations. And so for you to be the kind and empathetic person that you are, to say, actually, no, I'm not going to continue this, or we aren't doing something. Was a big step for you, and it shifted how you do agreements after that point. But the courage to do that, the more you honored yourself, the more people began to show up that honored you and really love that. So I think that's amazing. I'm curious, how would you describe the experience working with me? Yeah, how would you describe the experience working together?
Great, amazing. But what I mean by that is a free speech space. Yeah, it's an experience where I feel like accepted as I am, and it's a free space where we I can express any uh, any issue. And what I love is that quality of listening, and then the ability to get perspective on the issue, and being able to make hypotheses or to get feedbacks from experiences, or to sometimes just get back again to basics in terms of the dynamics of the thing we are dealing with. um, so I love also the calm, uh,
Hmm.
the peace that's from you, and it makes me like being confident with the work I'm going through with you, and it makes me uh, confident again, to go through that.
Yeah. Did anything surprise you from our coaching together?
Yeah, maybe the ability to when there is some uneasy challenges I want to address, almost systematically there is that's almost the post I have made yesterday, by the way. But it's like taking courage to address that in our container. The reflection or the feedback or the value there is then about the discussion between us about that subject is always like very illuminating,
Mm,
and uh, it build the reflex back to facing reality and going through, and then the reward is like always there. And that's something, yeah, I've missed in some part of my life, and that's good to practice that, and that's surprising me. But even though it's just a kind of standard, or it could be theorized or theorized, like, yeah, it works like that. But there is a big difference between knowing the past and working the past,
mhm,
to quote Morpheus. But and that's exactly that. You know that's important, but if you don't speak about it, the issue won't be solved just by ideas. And the most thing I am surprising about is, yeah, is the light I can have almost every time after, like, talking about one issue.
yeah. Yeah, I really like that. That's great, and I really love the. Uh, would you say knowing the past versus working the past?
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of when to be done with the past, right? I think that's something that we've also done, right? Helping you complete things from
Right.
the past, so you're able to move forward and direct your energy and attention and emotions towards what you're wanting to create.
Yeah.
And I think you've been amazing at cultivating and really growing that skill. Um, what you know what would you say life looks like? You've given people in the beginning, you shared with them, what things were like. How do you describe how things are now for you from our work together?
What do you mean? I don't catch.
Yeah, so in the beginning of this interview, you shared what things were like. You were trying to leave the job. You were really trying to create the transition into entrepreneurship, and you felt a lot of doubt. You felt challenged knowing your way, how to value yourself. And then we went into some of the work that we've done. How would you describe what life is like now for you on just a regular week to week
Mm,
or day to day basis of the difference?
okay, got it. Thank you. Um, More peace, and peace at mind is something huge for me. So that's really that's intangible, but it's very that reflects in a very tangible ways in my days. I am able to draw like perfect days or perfect weeks, meaning that I work for my clients almost. I don't think it's even half time, or yeah, let's say half time, but then I have half of my time to still continue to study on areas I want. So being able to uh, manage all my priorities without compromising essentials in my life is definitely something I am like. I still find myself at the beginning of that, but and that's definitely something I want to continue, and it's probably the best among the best thing that happens after or while you're working together.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's amazing, right? To have peace in your day and to, have that spaciousness. And I like this idea, right, of the perfect day or the perfect week, because that means you have the space to design what the perfect week looks like for you, what the perfect day looks like for you. And I think sometimes people are so caught up in trying to run their business that they're bouncing from one thing to the next rather than being able to actually enjoy it. So I love that you're actually able to enjoy those days. And I think it's always a practice between, I'd say I still grow in this area between the amount of work that we take on, the value that we place on it, and the amount of time that we allot for ourselves. And when we're moving to the next level, sometimes we can take something on that feels a little different. It's like, oh, this is what I want to adjust, or this is what I want to shift so I can keep my time. And so I think that's amazing that you're doing that, and you're making the time both for yourself and for the clients so you get to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I found out that it's a kind of magnet. If I only have like one side, it doesn't work. So either it's too much work or it's too much free time, or it doesn't work. But finding the right balance, yeah, it's and it's an interesting ongoing process actually, because
Mhm.
sometimes I had some days where I can work a whole day and then having like maybe 2 days off, and then back to some adjustments. So yeah, finding out that one is nourishing the other is really powerful.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who is on the fence about, doing work with me? They may be seeing my post or have been introduced to me, or they're looking online. Yeah, what would you say to someone who's on the fence?
Go for it. Go for it. There is absolutely no fear to have. Yeah, it's only a door to like to push, and then there is. I found that, yeah, engaging with you was like opening a door inside of me as well, and
Mm,
that's what we don't see when we are at the fence. It's like, yeah, I'm engaging, but it's kind of sometimes if there is fear, or actually it was my experience too, but to like, okay, I'm engaging, but I don't know what will happen, and that is slowing the process of going on. But actually, it's just pushing a door through your own value, and then having you in front is like you are a gold finder, and you are here to make us like shine. And that's, I mean, that's the process. That was the process for me, and that's some I think anyone can expect that from working with you.
mm. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. And I really like that, metaphor of like opening the door, opens a door inside them. It's, they're looking. And so it may be, the connection, right? That they're just the fact that they're sending a message, right? To inquire, to reach out, like that opens a door in themselves in and of itself. And, beyond that, even more. And so, I really appreciate you, sharing with everyone what you do, where you were at, what's come of the coaching, because I love the difference that it's made in your life. And I of course I want to transform the lives of many people, because I really do see that as possible. And so I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your journey.
Thank you, and you do actually. For me, you transform my life, and yeah, it's really powerful. So, thank you for your help, and thank you for that opportunity as well for today.
Awesome. And anyone that wants to reach out to you, I'll make sure I tag you in this so that way they can find you. And for anyone that is interested in reaching out to me, or even just wants to have a conversation on what coaching could look like for you, you can go to jmwhiteman, jmwightman.com. And there's an area where you can check out my work. And you're also welcome to send me a Facebook message if that's easier. So thank you, Cyril. I really appreciate this. And for those of you listening, what was your biggest takeaway? Did something open up in you here? And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank
See
you,
you
James.
guys. Bye.